Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Thriving Through Transfer workshop in celebration of Central Carolina Community College National Transfer Week. We are so glad, or National Transfer Student Week. Sorry about that. We are so glad that you chose to join us today to learn about how to make your transfer experience the best possible experience that you can have. With me today, I have and I'll
Hey
let you
guys.
introduce yourself.
Yes, hey guys. I am Jennifer Babb. I am a success coach here at Central Carolina Community College. I actually work with all of our university transfer programs along with some other programs that I support directly. But we are so happy to share this with you, especially in lieu of this week and celebrating it nationally. So we thank you for taking the time to be a part of this today.
And my name is Seth Buchanan, and I serve as the Director of Academic Success and a Visa Administration, a Visa Administrator here at Central Carolina Community College. I like to tell folks I am a product of the community college system. I started off as a community college student and transferred to a four-year institution where I earned my bachelor's degree. And now I work in community college systems. So I have seen the transfer process from all sides, and I'm going to do my best to help, along with Jennifer, to dispel some of the myths of the transfer process.
All right. Well, thank you, Seth. We are going to do a little fun challenge. We love icebreakers, and just to get you guys thinking of some different things, is this or that. I'm sure you have heard of it. So if you will, just place in the chat as we go through this, what your actual what's your preferences, right? So again, if you're just joining us, if you'll use the chat, we're doing a quick icebreaker, and if you would just put in there what your preference is. Okay, so we're gonna start with number one. Do we have a early riser or night owl? Early riser or night owl?
All right,
Okay.
thanks, Charles, for that
Yeah.
response. I am with you 100% on that. I am not a morning person at all. I'm more of a midday when things
Well,
actually start getting done.
and see, I am a early riser. Okay, going to the next, we have handwritten notes or typed notes. What do you prefer? I am a handwritten notes kind of girl. I think that you regurgitate that information a little better when it's handwritten. So I have always been handwritten notes. What about you, Seth?
I'm actually more of a note typer.
Okay.
My handwriting has always been atrocious. I can read it just fine. But if I'm going to be working on a project with people or sharing my notes with other folks, I need to type those notes out.
Right.
Even from an
Understood.
early age, before computers were a really big thing in the school systems, I was always typing my homework just to make it easier on my teachers. Sorry, sorry, middle school teachers that had SIP.
There you go. There you go. So, do we have procrastinators or do we have overachievers? I'm very curious to hear. I am surprisingly a procrastinator. I think I do my best work. I think other people would probably say overachiever, but I can be a procrastinator.
I think for
Um,
me, it really depends on what it is.
that's true. That's
There are
fair.
some
That's
things that
fair.
I procrastinate more on, you know, doing laundry, putting away the dishes,
Right. Things
things
you
like
don't want to
that.
do.
But yeah, things that I really don't want to do. But if it's something that I don't mind, I can be an overachiever on it.
Right. Okay, so do we like to give speeches or do we like to write papers? I am 100% a give speech.
Now, this may surprise you, Jennifer, but I'm actually more of a paper writer.
Oh, that's
Um,
surprising. I would have said the other.
I actually am an introvert. If you if you looked at my Myers Briggs, I'm an introvert. I can exude extrovert when I need to, but
Right.
I am more of a write paper person. I would rather be kind of behind the scenes on that. But I can do it if I need it. But and I'm right there with you, Charles.
Yeah.
You know,
I
writing
like that
papers
response.
to do it.
I like that response. Okay, so this is a tough one. Are we in Dunkin's or are we Starbucks? This is hard for me because I am a fan of both. And for those non-coffee drinkers, it may not even be something for you. But I think if I had to choose, it's going to be a Starbucks.
No, and it looks like Charles is agreeing with you on that Starbucks. Now, for me, it's kind of funny because I don't drink coffee. So it really kind of depends on what I'm going there for. If I'm needing some sort of breakfasty type item, I'm going to go to a
Okay,
Dunkin' Donuts. Um,
that's true.
or if I want a snack, go to Dunkin' Donuts. But I do enjoy the pink drink from Starbucks.
Some other options. There you go. All
Yeah.
right, so do we prefer to study alone or study in groups? Me, for one, I was always a study alone. I found myself, I am extroverted. So if I get in groups, I'm going to talk about things that are not what we are supposed to be studying about, right?
Hmm.
I'm gonna enjoy the people around me. So I am more of a study alone kind of gal. What about you, Seth?
Yeah, I'm with both of y'all on that. I am more of a study alone, unless I hit something that I'm just not getting.
Right,
Then I may break into like, okay, let me find some other people struggling with
right,
this topic. But 9 times out of 10, I'm studying by myself.
right. All right, serious controversy right here. Chick fil A or Popeyes? I'm going to go with Chick fil A.
Well, Chick-fil-A is the classic.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are blame the this is kind of funny. They blame the pandemic on the Popeyes chicken sandwich.
Oh goodness, I haven't read that one.
It's kind of a joke, because they start talking about, they tried to take on the Chick-fil-A sandwich, and it's
And then look what happened.
and then look what happened. Yeah.
All right.
Honestly, I never had Popeyes until about a week and a half ago. And it was pretty good chicken. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I did like the crunch on it a little bit better, and I'm kind of a
Mhm.
more spicy Cajun-y type
Mhm.
person, so I might lean a little bit more towards the Popeyes chicken.
Okay. All right. Last but not least, we have book smarts or street smarts.
Oh, and we got someone having some Chick-fil-A right now. So
As we speak. Sounds amazing. I'm a little jealous. So, what do we have? Last one: book smarts or street smarts? Book
book
smarts.
smarts. There you go.
I'm a street smarts kind of girl. I think that's where I lie.
I got a lot of book smarts. I will say
Yeah.
that. Um, and trying to learn some more of the street smarts.
Well, that's every day, right? We learn it every day. Well, thank you
That's
for
right.
doing that with us again. We just like to break the ice, get you thinking about some things, and also just to get to know everyone a little better. So, thank you for participating.
So now, kind of getting into the main topic of our workshop is what are some important questions that you need to ask as you're considering the transfer process, moving on to that next institution. And we came up with a list of about 6 different things for you to consider. Why would I want to transfer? What degrees transfer? Where should I transfer? At what point or when should I transfer? How do I actually transfer? And who do I need to go to help me transfer? So we're going to attempt to answer these 6 questions through the remainder of this workshop. And we're going to start with the very first one. Why would I want to transfer?
Right. So all really great questions, and all questions as advisors and success coaches that we get every day. So why would I transfer? Well, there could be a million reasons why an individual will transfer, but we wanted to highlight a few that we think that students feel more complex about in that transfer process. And so, one of the things that would be a main reason on transferring is a job requirement, right? So, there's specific jobs that you work for that require certain levels of education. Me and Seth both work in higher ed, so that is a huge part of our job descriptions, right, Seth? So
That's correct.
it's dependent on that career field. Obviously, in your technical sectors of the workplace, that's not as fluent. But it is something that you would need to think about if you are looking in a specific type of job. Obviously, another point of that is just to gain more experience in your field, right? You can never not know enough about something. And if it's something you're passionate about, why not? So anytime that you're wanting to further that experience or gain that knowledge, it's obviously a really great option at that point in the transfer process. Also, anytime you're changing career directions, after one, much like Seth did the community college pathway to a 4 year university, I was a transfer student myself, ended up in banking for 10 plus years, a professional career with that, and ended up in higher ed and is still looking possibly one day to further my education because I found a passion of mine. And so, anytime that you're changing those career directions, that may, in return, cause a change in education as well. And of course, moving into management, this can also be in different workplaces. They may require a certain level of education for those management positions. Um, so these are just a few things that we think are important to know and to think about if you're thinking about the transfer process and the why behind it.
So the all important question is what degrees actually transfer from a community college to a transfer institution. Now, one great thing that we like to highlight is this agreement that the North Carolina Community College system has with the UNC school system. And that agreement is called the Comprehensive Articulation Agreement. And basically, what that agreement states is that if you complete a university transfer degree at the community college level and you transfer to a 4 year institution, or not a 4 year institution, but a transfer institution, then they pretty much take your degree as a 2 year block and you start as a junior. So that is a very important agreement that we have. And we've got a link here to that agreement that we have on our website, so you'll be able to go in and peruse that agreement. We also have something called the Independent Comprehensive Articulation Agreement. And this is very similar to the Comprehensive Articulation Agreement, except this is with those private sector colleges. So when you start thinking about like your Methodist or the Duke University, my alma mater, St. Andrew's Presbyterian College out in Laurinburg. So we have some agreements with those private colleges. Now, when we start thinking about traditional transfer, and those are those UT degrees, and that's the Associate of Arts, Associate of Science, Associate of Engineering, and our two brand new teacher preparation degrees. That's Associate of Arts Teacher Prep and Associate of Science Teacher Prep. Those all set you up beautifully to transfer. And this is the degrees that CAA, that Comprehensive Articulation Agreement, are referencing. You go in and basically you're completing these universal general education degree requirements, or you get courses, and that's going to be your Englishes, your sciences, your maths, your humanity fine arts courses, your social behavior sciences. You're getting all that out of the way. And then on the back half of these UT degrees, you have all these electives. And what you use those electives for are to prep you to get into the program that you're planning on taking at that transfer institution. So the associate degree will get you into the school, but then you've got to use those electives to get you into that program. And we have these fantastic uh, agreements with these transfer institutions called a bachelor degree plan. And in those bachelor degree plans, it outlines the exact electives that you need to take on the community college level in order to get into those individual programs. Sometimes it's just one or two classes. Sometimes it's a fairly exhaustive list, depending on the program that you're trying to get into. I will tell you, one of the most intensive programs that I've ever worked with a student on getting into is the engineering program at North Carolina State University. Whew, talk about some requirements. You've got to have like a 375 GPA, you know, maths through Calc 3 and differential equations and physics and chemistries. And it is a lot, and they outline it through these BDPs. Now, when we think about transfer, we do think primarily in these Associate of Arts degrees, Associate of Science, what we call those traditional transfer programs. But in actuality, all programs are transferable because we're starting to see now through our partnerships with other institutions, these transfer institutions, opportunities for students in our Associate of Applied Science programs to move into a 4-year experience. Just the other week, we had this fantastic workshop with UNCG where they outlined what they call their 2+ program. And these are opportunities for students in Associate of Applied Science programs to transfer to UNCG to pursue that bachelor's degree. Now, not all transfer institutions are going to have opportunities like that, so you really need to work with your academic advisor and your admissions counselors at those transfer institutions to figure out what works best for you. But just because you're in an applied science program does not mean that you won't have the opportunity to transfer, because those opportunities are out there and they're becoming more and more prevalent.
Yes. And Seth hit all the highlights and all the high spots. I think what's important, and what we're trying to highlight with our students, is too making sure you're asking those questions, right? Making sure you're asking about articulation agreements. Make sure you're asking the BDPs, all of those things. So great points, great points. So moving forward, we're going to talk about where should I transfer, right? That's another question that so many students have is, I know what I want to do or why I want to do it, but where should I go? And so we want to make sure that you are considering those key factors and making that decision. So cost being one thing, right? If you are trying to go budget friendly, you might not want to go into a private institution or out of state, so to say. You want to make sure that you are looking at that as part of the transfer process, but also location. Are you a homebody? Do you need to be close to your family, friends, or your support group, whoever that may be? Or do you want to venture outside of North Carolina and see the world? It's a personal decision. Obviously, you need to consider things as far as your major goes. I work with a lot of students that are really looking into filmmaking, and UNCW is a great place, right? For that, and it encompasses all things. There's some great movies that have been filmed there, but you need to make sure that you keep that in the back of your mind. Whatever major that you're looking into the schools. As Seth stated, NC State is a huge engineering school. So most students, when they think of engineering, they think of NC State. Another thing is a campus size. Some students feel overwhelmed with a class of 100 plus students. Sometimes a private or smaller college, they do better at. So that's something else. Make sure you're looking at the school's informational or the information about those schools. Obviously, the college culture, it could be a spiritual thing, right? It could be so many things that goes into place when it comes to the culture of the college, whether it's a traditional college or something that may be a school of arts, theater driven or arts driven. So you want to make sure that you're thinking of those things. Obviously, campus life. What kind of student activities are happening? Is it a big enough college where I can be active, or is it a small enough college where that campus life is going to be able to make smaller connections. And then again, I want to highlight that articulation agreement. Make sure that you are looking over that for those colleges. And I did place it in the chat, the direct link that our Central Carolina Community College does have articulation agreements with those schools. And of course, we're always here to answer any questions. But that is important because, again, that does transfer you in as a junior or accepts all of those credits from that 2 year degree. And then always, always, always have a backup plan. We like to say don't put all your eggs in one basket. Make sure that you are looking at all of these variety of things and having somewhere else just in case that first choice doesn't pan out. And that's okay. Sometimes we think that that's where we are supposed to be and end up somewhere else, and it ends up being a beautiful thing. I will share, I had always wanted to go to UNCW. That was where I thought that I belonged. And once traveling there and seeing the campus, it's a beautiful campus, but I realized, you know what, I cannot be that far away from my support system. I need to be within a 30-minute driving distance, and it worked out for me. So I'm glad that I had a backup plan and that I had some other options. Now I know this might sound uh, really a very small part of it, but it's also something that you need to remember. And these are things not to consider, right? So make sure you're not picking that or choosing a school based on their college athletics team. You could grow up being a diehard Carolina fan, right? And you want to go to Carolina because that's the only team you pull for. Obviously, unless you're an athlete and that's what you're looking for in your quest of transfer. But make sure you're choosing a school because it's the right school for you, not because of just the college athletics part of it. Um, Another thing, and this is something that I feel like working in higher ed that we do deal with from time to time is where your friends are going, right? You choose, you kind of follow sometimes in others' footsteps because that's common and that's also what feels natural. But we want to make sure that you're making the choice for you. Obviously, all these things that embodies things to consider, if you're following somebody else's lead, may not be where you thrive or the best environment for you to thrive in. So make sure again that you're making that choice for you. And then last, parental preference. It could be that both of your parents or whoever that person may be to you, both were NC State graduates, right? So you could never think about their child or you going anywhere else because that's where mom and dad went. So we gotta keep the tradition going. And of course, we're not sitting here saying don't do what your parents say, but we do want to make sure that you again are exploring and discovering what fits your needs and fits your passion. And that goes back to what program you're studying, or whatever that case may be. So all of these things are just very important for us, to make sure that you're understanding and considering, in the actual process of where you're transferring to.
And Jennifer hit on a lot of great points too, and just a couple of things that I'd like to reinforce. One thing that she said was she visited the UNCW campus, and I cannot stress how important that is. Just because this is where you have chosen to transfer, you still need to go and visit that, because once you get on campus, you'll know whether or not that's the right place for you, whether it's too far from home, or maybe you're just not getting the right vibe from the campus. Go
Right.
there, visit it, walk around, talk to the students, make sure it's the best spot for you. And then also, having those backup plans. I'll share, when I was a community college student, I intended to transfer to state and I didn't get in. And so at that time, I did not have a backup plan, and I was devastated. I didn't know where I was going to go. And, luckily, I was able to work with some of the advisors at my campus, and we found another alternative for me. But, it's knowing some other places that you can go, just in case your number one pick doesn't come through. Also, make sure you're researching your institutions to ensure that, yes, the program that you are wanting is actually at that school. There was a
Correct.
young lady that I worked with several years ago that was just dead set on going to UNC Chapel Hill, and she wanted to do, I think it was forensic biology.
Hmm.
And I told her, like, that's great, that's fantastic. You picked out your school. They don't offer forensic biology at UNC Chapel Hill. And she looked at me so confused. What do you mean? That's where I want to go. It
Right.
They don't have that program there. You'll have to choose a different college. But I'm going to Chapel Hill. Okay, then you'll need to do a different major. But I want to take forensic biology. And it just took a little bit for that to sink in, that,
Right.
it's either go to Chapel Hill and do something different, or find another college to pursue the degree that she originally chose. And she finally did choose a different college, but it took a hot minute for that realization to sink in, that she wouldn't be able to take her dream major at her dream college.
Right. And I try to, make sure that students are aware. We do all this in hoping that they're proactive, right? They're looking at these schools, they're doing their research, and they also realize that it's not a one size fits all model, right? It's a more of a what model best fits you, or what, school best fits you. So, I think conversations like this really, help in our intentions with students, starting that process a little early, and navigating that conversation. So the next slide that we want to kind of talk about, or I want to talk about, is what it just looks like. What are our CAA partners? And this is just a great, portrait of our UNC school system partners, so they partner with our NC Community College systems. I'm sorry, I'm getting my words messed up there. And, these schools provide a seamless transfer for those college transfer students. This map obviously shows all over North Carolina. You can go from the mountains to the coast, and there's a fit for you. So we just want to make sure that we reiterate, the different locations that we have those articulation agreements with, and where they're located throughout this, North Carolina.
So the big question is, when is the best time that I should transfer? And really, this depends on the individual student, because really you can almost transfer whenever you want. If you look at the individual transfer requirements from from the transfer institutions, you can see that there are different requirements. Like, you can transfer almost immediately after your second semester in the community college system, so long as you meet certain criteria, having a minimum GPA, usually that's in the 2.5 range, having 24 transferable credits, and then having those credits from a certain group of um, from from a certain group of courses looking at Englishes and humanities and fine arts, or you can stick it out and transfer at the end of your associate's degree. And when you do that, you do transfer a little bit better in terms of, you're able to take 2 years with you. You start as a junior, you're going to have less time at that transfer institution, and it's going to impact you more financially. You won't have to pay as much out of pocket at that institution. A couple of things that we want to highlight, the time pressure that students can feel in trying to complete their associate's degree, or completing their bachelor's degree. When we start talking about these different degree pathways, we throw out, oh, it's an associate's degree, it's a 2 years degree, or it's a bachelor's degree and it's a 4-year degree. And really, those words are not synonymous. I completed my associate's degree in 2.5 years. Does that make my degree worth anything less because it took me an extra semester to do that? My bachelor's degree, if you count my associate's degree time, I did it in 5 years instead of 4 years. Is it worth any less? It is not. I'll go ahead and answer that for you. It is an individual length of time based off of the student's needs, because you've got to look at all the different factors, and it's going to be different for every single student, because you've got to look at your work. Are you working currently, or do you not have to worry about it? What are your life commitments, and then what are your school requirements? And it's going to be different for every single student. Maybe it's a question of finances. Can you afford to pay for a full-time load? Those 12 hours, between financial aid and paying out of pocket. The availability of classes. Maybe the last class that you need to graduate is not going to be offered this semester. It's going to be next semester. So we have all these different constraints that can affect the length of time it's going to take you to complete a degree. Also, if you look at a full-time load, full-time in terms of financial aid is 12 credits. But honestly, if you're going to be taking if you want to get done in 2 years and not have to take summer classes, really you need to be looking at 15 to 16 credits a semester. And then based off of your other obligations between work and life, are you going to be able to handle that load? So that's something to be considered. Also, I mentioned summer classes. There is this, what is the word that I'm looking for? Negative connotation to taking classes in the summer. And this is because of our public institutions, elementary, middle, high school. If you're taking summer classes, ooh, what'd you do wrong?
Right.
What class did you mess up? On the college level, that's not what summer class is about. Summer class is about getting ahead, taking that extra class or two during the summer, and that's less that you have to worry on the back end of your degree. I highly recommend to anybody, if you have the funds available between financial aid, scholarships, or even your personal finances, take at least an extra class. Just that's one less class that you have to worry about in the future. Also, look at your transfer toolbox. Jennifer, if you can pop into the chat box the link to the transfer toolbox, look at what those transfer degree requirements are in order to move on to those 4-year institutions. Now, with the transfer toolbox, you're going to be looking at two things: what college you want to transfer to, and then what is the program. And then for each program at each college, it will lay out for you the exact classes. Kind of like what we were talking about a couple of slides ago with those elective classes. It's going to lay out in those elective classes exactly what you need to take. And you can work with your academic advisor or your success coach to plan out when you need to take those classes to be able to move at your own pace that you are going to set for yourself in order to prepare for that transfer.
Sorry, my computer is doing some crazy things. I just got to drop that transfer toolbox in the chat, so be sure to check that out. So we're going to talk about how do I transfer, and again, I think Seth said it best. Everybody has their own journey, right? So don't get too caught up in that 4-year or transition. I too had to take summer courses because that was a way for me to graduate on my time frame that I had given myself. So please be sure to make sure that you make those decisions for your specific journey and what works best for you, not only financially, but also academically. So again, how do I transfer? So there's a lot of ways that you can be proactive. You can start planning early. You can join workshops that your local community college is having. I know we do a lot here at CC for our students, and making sure that they have those tools way beforehand, before making those decisions on where they're transferring to. But another important thing is talk with your academic advisor. Again, as Seth said, making sure that those programs are offered at the school that you are hoping to transfer to. That's so important. And then we can't say this enough, find your BDP. Make sure that those bachelorette degree plans are in place. And so that transition and that transfer is seamless for you. For making your academic plan in Aviso, you can go in Aviso to do your academic plan, and then obviously your academic advisor approves that plan. And they also are there to sit with you and talk through that plan. That's so important that you're doing that, not only for other resources in the college, such as your academic advisor, to make that connection, but also making sure that you have a plan, making sure that you have mapped out those courses, so that when it's time to transfer, you have completed all those general requirements. And then, of course, you can always go to CFNC. I think Seth put that in the chat
Yep.
for some really important information. They have a lot of tools for transfer students, the process, some application things and tricks of that. And so I always utilize that resource with my students as well. And then again, make sure you're researching the university transfer student webpage. Make sure you're going to NC State, UNCG, Pembroke, or Western Carolina, whatever the case may be, and researching your option. Maybe you want to study marketing. Make sure you're looking at that. And most of the time, when you go on their page, you can put in their search function, transfer program or transfer student, or anything like that, and it'll pop up. But also, if you're having questions about finding that information, make sure that you're talking with your advisor, or success coach, or whoever it may be that you feel comfortable with discussing those goals.
And that is a perfect segue into our last question. Who can I ask to help? Your academic advisor is going to be one of your point people to help you get prepared to transfer. They can help you find those classes that you need from those bachelor degree plans to be able to build your degree to successfully transfer. Also, your success coach. I know Jennifer, as we said at the top of the presentation, serves as a success coach for all of our university transfer programs. She is absolutely wonderful to work with, and would be more than happy, I'm sure, as I volunteer her, to work with you to prepare those BDPs. And I see where she has thrown her email address into the chat box. Where are you located at, Jennifer, too?
Perfect question. So I am located in Powell Hall. So that is also, I always pick with students, aka CFC or the gym, whatever you may call it. But I am in office number 17, right across from the weight training room, and always happy to speak with students about the transfer process and how we can kind of get the ball rolling on that or answer any questions they have.
Good deal. Also, reaching out to the admissions departments at wherever it is you're looking at transferring to. They are there to help and they will answer your questions. Now, we do have a couple of virtual opportunities coming up to be able to work with some of those admissions folks. This afternoon from 4 to 5 p.m., we will have NC A&T State University excuse me, will be on hand live from Greensboro to answer your questions about transferring to NCA&T. And then all the way from Cullowhee, we'll have Western Carolina University at 6 to 7 p.m. tonight. These links are posted on our website, as well as, let me get these over into the chat box, just so that you'll have them. Here is the A&T link. And again, that is at 4 to 5 p.m. today. And then our Western Carolina University link. And then also be sure to check out any transfer fairs. I mean, we're having National Transfer Student Week this week. So we've had lots of folks on hand to this week to answer questions. We had Lees McRae College on campus today. Yesterday we had East Carolina University. Tomorrow we will be having UNC Charlotte on the CCCC Lee main campus. And then on Thursday we will have a representative from the Goodnight Scholarship from NC State University on campus to answer questions. So be sure to check them out. And then next month on November 18th, we will have our transfer fair in the Dennis A. Wicker Civic Center right across the street from the Lee main campus from 8:45 to 11 a.m. I think we've got at least 30 colleges on tap to be here to answer your questions. They are here for you to come and ask all the questions about joining their fantastic institutions. So be sure to check them out. Also, look into CFNC. That a lot of our colleges, our partner colleges, use CFNC for that common application to be able to just very easily apply to multiple colleges at the same time, and you'll be able to find those admissions requirements on that website as well. And last but not least, at the very end, it helps if I click on the right part of this this chat window. Last but not least, what questions can we try to answer for you while we are here and available? So we will turn this over to you, the students.
And feel free to turn your mic on and ask any questions while you're thinking of any questions you may have. Seth, I've got a good question that
Okay.
I get asked a lot. Is it too early? I started. This is my second semester. Is it too early to start planning for college, or at what point do I start planning my transfer process?
You know, I encourage students, if they have a general idea of what they want to do or where they want to go, the first semester really is a great time to start thinking about it. You don't necessarily have to start making plans because the first semester for most students is going to look the same. You're going to take your ACA class, maybe an English class, and then a couple of electives. And 9 times out of 10, all those classes that you're going to take in that first semester are going to work for just about any program you want to get into. But right beyond that second semester or not the second semester, that first semester, as you're moving into the second semester, that's really when you need to start making some moves towards thinking about, okay, this is where I'm going. This is what I want to do. Here's the classes that I need to take, and then really start mapping it out. That you could go through the second semester into your third semester and really start doing it then, but just me as a planner, I would recommend that second semester really starting to to make those hard plans about moving on to that next institution.
Yes, and I just want to point out sometimes students don't know after that first semester, right? They
Yeah.
still don't know what they want to do or what program, and
And
make
we
sure
do a
that
lot of exploration in that ACA 122, which if you
yes,
have not taken, you need to
right,
take.
yes,
Not only is it required to graduate from CCCC, but we do a lot of great self-exploration,
yes,
career exploration, and college exploration. Just
right,
to make sure that you're getting into the program you want to, you're pursuing the path that you want to, and then making sure we're getting you to that institution that is going to serve you best.
right, and that's exactly what I was I was going to say. So, we want to make sure that you're having that opportunity to explore those careers, and that's also discussions that you can have with your academic advisor or your success coach. So, I think ACA 122 obviously is a great way also though to explore those different types of programs in colleges and just to learn more.
And just one important thing to remember is you're not alone in this journey. You have
Right.
a lot of wonderful support systems here at CCCC between your academic advisor, your success coach. Come see me. I serve as chair for the ACA department. I'm happy to answer any questions about transferring. And then you have all these other programs that want to help as well. If you are a veteran, we have Veterans Upward Bound. If you're a first generation college student, we have Trio SSS. We are here to help you. All you have to do is ask, and we are
Right.
more than happy to.
And we always say if we don't know the answer, we have a connection somewhere that does, right? We
Exactly.
have great working relationships and collaborate with several of these schools. Mr. Buchanan does a lot of it daily, so there is always someone with an answer.
Yes. And I do like to say, if it's something that I don't know, I will find it out for you.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I'm not seeing any
Anybody else?
questions pop up in the chat box. So we'll give it one last call for questions. All right. Well, we certainly appreciate everybody. Currently no questions at this time. Thank you, Charles.
Yes.
Um, so we certainly appreciate all of your time today, coming and joining us to learning about the transfer process. We hope that this has been important, or not important, but informative to you. Once again, let me post up here. Here is Jennifer Babb's contact information, and her office telephone number and her email address. Here is mine, office telephone number, direct line, and email address. Please call us, email us with any questions you may have so that we can make sure that you're going to be as successful as you possibly can. Again, I'm Seth Buchanan, joined by Jennifer Babb. Thank you all once again, and you have a fantastic rest of your day. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.